सेपरेट, वो अलग है। लेकिन जो कनेक्शंस हैं वो मान लीजिए कि आपके बच्चे स्कूल में क्या पढ़ते हैं, हिस्ट्री पढ़ते हैं, सोशल स्टडीज पढ़ते हैं, जियोग्राफी पढ़ते हैं, मैथ पढ़ते हैं ना। तो जब भी आप उर्दू के जरिए या हिंदी के जरिए ये सारे सब्जेक्ट जो हैं सिखाते हैं, तब आप कनेक्शंस बनाते हैं। ठीक है? Okay? We're clear about the other three standards. Good. So that was a good question we got in the feedback. So now we know.
I'm going to keep talking about it, but we should.
Yes. Any other questions? Burning questions? Yes.
These things we could have learned in English. Then why in Hindi or like this?
Because well, who wants to answer? Yes.
I just want to answer that because you are maybe incorporating STEM in your program now, right? And you want to talk about science, math, or so you have to use your language. Ek darjan.
Okay, this is one explanation. We agree. Another explanation.
Just like it depends upon the student's interest also. They might not be interested in history. Some of my students, from my students' experiences, I'm telling that one student is planning to do law, and she's really good in gender-basis topics, whatever is happening in our community. So whenever I ask to give any presentation, students always bring that kind of topics they love to present.
Okay, so this is another explanation.
अगर बच्चों को महादेवी वर्मा की या प्रेमचंद की अगर कविता पढ़नी है तो उनको ये जो हमारे बेसिक टॉपिक है फूड है, ये ट्रैवल है, उसके वो हिंदी भाषा वहीं तक सीमित नहीं होनी चाहिए। उसको हम प्रेमचंद की, महादेवी वर्मा की या मुंशी प्रेमचंद है या तो उनकी पढ़ सकें। नहीं, मेरे क्वेश्चन
नहीं, ये कह रहे हैं कि सब कुछ उर्दू या हिंदी में क्यों नहीं
इनकॉर्पोरेट करें जो हम। तो आपको हिंदी भाषा आनी चाहिए ना। आपका ये है कि सिखाने वाले को उसके अलावा भी तो जो फ्रेंच
जब भी तो सिखाने वाला बनेगा।
Exactly the challenge. This is exactly the challenge. You cannot know all these disciplines, but you always want to be the one that is taking the students to a different level, not only with the language, but also cognitively. And in order to do that, it happens when you conscientiously connect. Well, you do your research, and you connect to these other disciplines. Why? Because language functions this way, to express all these concepts, all these ideas through communication. So whether you do it in English, or you do it in French, or in Hindi, language functions this way. And we want to be more aware and more purposeful in the way we use our language. Because if we don't do that, then it's the language for its own sake. And then Rakesh and I will be the only teachers who are clear linguists. And we can talk about the language as much as you want us to. Rakesh wants to.
One thing I want to add, see, no one knows everything. But online resources now, they are so helpful. And if there is a need, the way these modules are being developed, there are going to be other resources or modules in science, in media, in law. So these are our plans for future that we are going to expand. So of course, no teacher anywhere on this earth knows everything. But it doesn't stop learning from.
I can give you a very basic, small answer.
One more question.
Let's give you another answer, and you keep the other question for the break.
So to give you, I have no background in state business, for example. I used to teach students. They were from Pakistan. They were proficient in Urdu for the most part, but they had no academic language, basically. They wanted to, one student came to me and said when the stock market crashed, he said, I want to be able to explain to my uncles, my family, what is it that I'm studying and actually why this is happening right now. So he basically came up with a presentation in Urdu to explain exactly all of the market forces that were going on and what was happening. And that was something he felt was important for him to gain the respect of his elders and his family to explain what he was studying. Because yes, you can go to the life, you can do all of this stuff, but what is it that you're actually doing? And he was really very grateful to be able to have that opportunity to do that project. I wasn't an expert in any of those terms, but I showed him the sources of where to go. So our students are really keen on becoming as proficient as any expert we could watch on Doordarshan or GeoTV and explain some of these subjects. We have to direct them to the right sources. That's our job, not to actually become the expert in science, math, economics, all of that stuff. So it's really important if we get them there.
Okay, so we're starting today with the presentational mode. Jennifer, the floor is yours.
Hello, welcome back, everybody. And I'm actually glad we had the conversation about communities and connections, because that leads us very nicely into the presentational mode. The presentational mode is one that's a long-standing favorite with people because they may be used to developing these type of projects. And I take it a little further to make sure that your presentational mode is about solving problems and creating products. That's really what it's about. And what I mean by a problem, it can be even a small problem like people aren't sure where to go. Okay, that's a problem. So a novice problem can sound very much like we have to decide what foods we like, we dislike. That's a problem. Anytime a learner needs to solve a problem or create a product that's new, they're extending what they've learned now and are applying it to a different situation. It's going to be different from how they originally learned it with you. And that's really the essence of transfer. So above all, if you're going to have transfer tasks, yes, they need to be an interpretive and interpersonal, but they really need to happen in the presentational mode. Otherwise, it's a very nice project that might be nice for the classroom or for the teacher. They made a poster. Technically, it's a presentational mode task. Better if they use it and it connects to a content area and has connections, and it is of value to the community, value outside the classroom, beyond for the pleasure of other students and the teacher. Okay? So this is, I'm glad that we brought that up, because connections and communities play such a big part in presentational mode tasks. So the best presentational mode tasks always will be about solving problems and creating products that are of value. So let's take a look. Right? Our task design. All right? So some more can-do statements for you. I can describe the features of the presentational mode, recognize presentational mode tasks when I see them. We're going to design 4 kinds of presentational mode tasks. Really, it's solve problems and create products, but at least if we come away with 4 under our belt, I think we'll be happy. All right? And then, of course, last but not least, can you explain the presentational mode task to a colleague when you go back to your program? Can you tell them the essence of the presentational mode task? What it's for, all right? The kind of tasks, the kind of problem solved, and products that they can create, and what that's about. So let's take a look. So presentational mode task features. The presentational mode task is really different from the other 2. The interpretive mode task happens right there in the moment, doesn't it, with the material. They have contact with the authentic material. They're making inferences, pulling information from it, categorizing, forming questions, and they're doing it in the moment. Same with the interpersonal task. That's spontaneous, unscripted, happening right there in the moment. The presentational mode task is different because students can take time to revise, rewrite, tweak, consult new authentic resources to be able to do it. In other words, they have time, and it can take a little more time to be able to solve the problem or create the product. Presentational mode tasks are both speaking and writing. It's sort of a misnomer. People hear presentational and they think it's just somebody getting up and making a presentation like this. But actually, a lot of presentational mode tasks are written products. Okay? Sometimes they're multimedia products, but they're not just spoken products. Value beyond the classroom. Learners need to use the language for a real-world purpose, and this is where communities come in. So it is value outside, again, beyond just for students and teacher. Can they create something that might be of purposeful use and meaningful to their community and even even externally. The further out they go, just like we saw yesterday, the further out to transfer it is. So if it's a new problem, a new product that they haven't seen before, that somebody is asking them to do, that's a great presentational mode task. What about if they're creating something based on somebody's needs, what they need, maybe their preferences and what they like, and they have to keep that person's preferences in mind when they make that itinerary, design that menu, plan a party. All right. So again, when you're thinking about somebody else and you can kind of move away from that and have somebody else's needs in mind, that's a really great form of presentational mode task. And then finally, transfer. Learners need to solve novel problems and create new products. Again, isn't new. Novelty is a very good characteristic of transfer. You always want to make sure that this task is something they haven't seen or done before. It needs to be doable, all right, but it needs to be new in terms of the fact that they've never seen it exactly like that in your instruction. All right, it will be new to them, all right, be it doable. So let me give you this sheet. That explains what we just did here. Thank you. Some stuff. Now, as you can see, presentational mode tasks really fall into two categories. That's how I see them. They're solving a problem, creating a product. I know it sounds like a mantra, if you will. Solve a problem, create a product. But that's really what it boils down to. And I think it's important to make things a little bit easier and put it in these two categories. Give the students a problem to solve that's of interest and value beyond the classroom. Or students design a product of some use to themselves, but even more importantly, to others. Keep in mind that for a lot of formative tasks, students are really used to making tasks and making products that they enjoy. And that's perfectly okay. In a lot of classes, they might be talking about their favorite house, their dream house, their favorite foods. It's all about them, right? Maybe me, right? With kids. But you really can tell they understood if they can move beyond themselves, thinking about somebody else's needs, or maybe another group's needs. They're using the information that they learned differently. And that's how you really know they understand. And this idea is not just in our content area, but it's really for all content areas. It's not enough to know a particular piece in one context. You have to be able to use it in a variety of different contexts and situations and be able to do so flexibly and securely. This means that the student will need to call upon the repertoire, the body and the variety of pieces that you taught them, and be able to choose and say, okay, here's this group, they need this. We're going to recommend this. Oh, this person has this need or this like, I'm going to recommend this. So it requires some critical thinking skills, but at the same time it does that, it engages them in using the language authentically and making decisions that we have to do all the time. All right? So it really will push them to higher proficiency. In the box on the right, there is a list of possible products that they can create. This list is by no means exhaustive, but I've put down here on the page what I call the usual suspects, the things that a lot of students and programs do. What's different is that rather than only being for show for the students, consider outside groups requesting these products. Here's the problem posed, and maybe an outside group, maybe it's a government or a non-government organization, maybe it's something like even the History Channel is doing a series of episodes on various aspects of your country and different cultures, and they need some content from your students, okay? And maybe you're a director of an episode, and you have to provide content. So again, they're moving out of their role as student and providing something for somebody else. So the minute they move outside themselves, now they're using the language differently. So these are the usual suspects and typical type of tasks, but as you can see, there's a lot you can do with them. It also makes for a very nice differentiated approach, because if you have multi-levels and they're all doing something, just say on health, they can all contribute to that health theme just differently based on what they're able to do. It's all about what they are able to do. So, solving problems, creating products. I have some visuals here. So, yes, the menu is one of them. Can they create a multimedia presentation of some sort for somebody? Maybe they're planning an agenda, and they have to plan an itinerary for someone. Designing a survey, designing a quick survey. It's a great presentational mode task, the design of the survey itself. But if they're going around to everyone in the class and asking the questions, what would that be? A nice interpersonal task, right? So you can see how one can flow into the next.
If they do design an online survey and the students are answering using their mobile numbers, that would be okay too? Online?
If it is on an online survey, and the students are doing it, yeah, the survey design itself is presentational. Okay. If the students are answering the survey online, okay, they're reading the information. That's right. Yeah. So it makes for a very nice spin-off task. You're right. Okay. Advertisements. Okay. Can they make an ad? All right. That's a nice presentational task. So imagine, and for students would be thrilled. I even work with 5th grade, 6th grade, middle schoolers. They're thrilled to think, okay, you are an ad agent, and now you have to sell this product. Okay, make an ad. And of course, they might be at single word level. They put some visuals, but that's enough, to be able to create a nice presentational mode task for novices. Imagine what that ad might look like now at intermediate and then in advanced. So when I think of economy of tasks, and I know that a lot of teachers might have multi-level preparations, and you indeed may be teaching this concept to many levels within your Startalk program. If they all have to create an ad, but they all do something different with the ad according to their ability, all right, this is one way that you can differentiate a task. So you can put them in the role of the ad agent, or the ad agency is looking to promote products. All right, so again, connecting to other disciplines, making it relevant to the community. All right, what would that ad look like? And you'll find some wonderful things. In my time working with Startalk programs, I got to visit some Hindi and Urdu programs, and you do beautiful things with multimedia. So the students will love it. They'll absolutely love it.
A lot with Mr. Mellon and our...
Yes? Yes.
Because we were making talk shows and talking about awareness in the community, and then he said, okay, if you're prepared, then come, and he was recording it.
Exactly.
I think the most important thing is you really have to know your students. You have to get to know them and their interests. So you can come up with, any number of choice boards for them to come up with these tasks, give them options. But at the end of the day, if a student comes to you and say, okay, I have this particular interest, even if it's like comic books, so whatever it might be, princesses, if they're little kids, that's where my daughter's at this point right now. But if they can take their interest, which they have other outside knowledge and that whole idea of transfer too, different skills, they're going to bring it in and make something unique to them. But if you can also say, okay, this is still a demonstration of what they can do right now, that's what we're looking for. The presentational mode is really for them to demonstrate what they can do at that time for you.
And I think you'll really be impressed with what they can do. When you design presentational mode tasks this way, you'll see really what they're able to do. Because sometimes teachers may think, well, no, I don't think my students can do this. You'll be pleasantly surprised. So here are just a couple of samples. I have more. that I've created for you. Students record a daily reflection using a site like vocaroo.com, and then email the audio file to family and friends. They begin with a description of their living conditions, and on other days talk about rules, expectations, and their new friends. Students create a storyboard with pictures and captions of the content for a multimedia presentation. That's a nice task. Each student goes online to select a housing option for the homestay. Then they come up with a family for them. So in small groups, they share information about where they'll live and their host family. So this is one of those cases of, here's the family, let's match it with the correct homestay, thinking about somebody else's needs in mind. All right, so that's a nice one. And then students work in small groups to design the questionnaire, all right, that a camp might use to determine roommates, and then the student completes the fact sheet. All right, so designing 2 types of presentational mode tasks: solve a problem and create a product. Here's another one of those fact sheets on the go that you can have, and you'll see there's a little design tool that I have come up with. And on the top it gives some of the key characteristics of presentational mode tasks: revise, rehearse, refine. Value beyond self and classroom. Solve problems, create products for transfer. Each one of these sheets, if you noticed, had a piece down below. There's engaging with the material, engaging with a partner for interpersonal, and this is engage with a problem. They're always engaging with a problem of some kind, however small, however minor, or it can be a larger problem, but it's some type of complexity, some little complication, because you want them as soon as possible to realize that there are little complications, little problems to solve. It might be, for example, just like we had yesterday in the interpersonal task. They have all these places they want to go. You tell them, oh, you only have this amount of time, a limited amount of time. You've given them a problem now. So now they have to come to consensus and decide, okay, we can do only these 3 things. That's an example of a problem. All right? Taking it now to presentational, they have to write up an itinerary for somebody. Oh, you have this limited amount of money and this limited amount of time. You've given them a problem. Perhaps a novel problem they've never seen, and now they have to come up with that itinerary. So that's what we mean by solving the problem. They don't have to be huge problems, but they're a complexity that they have to solve and fix. So, on the sheet you see a little design, and yes, it spells START. Everyone talks about starting with the end in mind. All right, so I have my own version of START. Source. Source is the authentic material, which you always start with. So you may give them brand new authentic materials, new materials they've never seen. The task is your performance task. All right. Audience. An audience other than that of classroom. Think an audience outside the classroom. All right. Maybe it is a separate group of people, or 1 or 2 people. Maybe it's a group, a business, an entity, whatever it is. It's the audience of who is going to get the thing, who is going to get the problem solved or the product created. Next, role. A role other than that of student. All right, so you give them a part to play. You give them a role. All right, and then finally, transfer. All right, so we have some tenets of transfer, and that's coming up. Can I say something? Please.
The role is something that we need with our heritage language learners. We don't want them to be themselves when you give them presentational tasks, because they're comfortable being themselves and dealing with circumvention and some kind of ellipsis and skipping and going around and staying at the same level that they came in. So you want to give them a role so that they themselves will have the need to look for new phrases, new structures, use cliches, examine the text that you gave them for that reason, to feed into this new language that they will be using, because they have a role of a principal, of a minister, of a sarpanch, or whatever role you give them. Don't let them be themselves, because that's the easiest.
That's their comfort zone.
That's their comfort zone.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're moving them out of the comfort zone. Why? What we said yesterday about Plan for the inevitable unexpected. Make sure that they know about unpredictability. Okay? And encourage risk. It encourages creativity. And creativity really is the hallmark of language. Right? It is creativity by design. Language innately is that way. So let's take a look. Again, source, that culturally authentic material, you're going to start there. Task, it's always about solving a problem and creating a product, right? Audience, beyond the classroom. A role, a real role, other than that, a student. Okay, so give it a try. And then finally, transfer. The tenets for transfer. Novelty. It has to be new. So it is a new problem, a new product, perhaps new authentic material they haven't seen. Still in line with the theme, all right? Still about the same theme, of course. But maybe it's brand new material they haven't seen, and now they have to work with it, right? But novelty. You always want to keep it new. Keep it new because when they are out there using the language in the real world, it's always going to be new. Every interaction with somebody else, brand new. Everything they have to do is brand new. Okay, it's never going to be scripted. So novelty is the biggest one. Next, complexity and variation. Again, the problem, the wrinkle, the little thing they have to figure out. All right, give them a complexity. All right. In terms of variation, maybe there's a number of different groups or people that have different needs. Do you remember the example yesterday about places to go? And then I had the family of 5, the people that love history, the grandparents that like small town and crafty things, all right? Students on a limited budget. Variables. The more variables they can handle, they have to gather their repertoire up to match what they're going to do for those different variables. You come up with the variables, okay, again it makes it differentiated. Eventually your students will come up with the variables. They'll say, Miss, Sir, what about somebody that has this need? And they'll come up with it. They'll start to do it on their own. That's when you know you have a self-directed learner, an autonomous learner, and that's what we're looking for. Right? So complexity and variation. And then finally, going beyond self and your own needs. Thinking about somebody else's needs. Whether it's an individual, a group of people, an entity, and so forth.
Try using authentic material that they have been exposed to before. So just give them a variation of a task. They will have, because you're saying novelty.
Right.
Complexity. For example, I'm having the same set of students roughly, and we are still pursuing the same topic as I was researching yesterday. Okay.
You want to change the task.
I would-
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
At one point you said, bring a new authentic material.
Yes, that's also an example of novelty. If you have the same, I'll address both questions. If you have the same material and they're just doing different tasks with it, that's fabulous too. It's the idea that it's a different task, something they haven't seen before. A great piece of authentic material you can bring out again and again at different levels as long as the task is different. We often say, don't change the text, change the task. I've seen one great piece of authentic material used from novice all the way up to superior. It depends on what the student can do with it. So that's one kind, all right? I also said that for novelty, not only is it a brand new task, situation, problem, or product that's brand new, but you can also give new materials. So if you've been giving them a variety of different culturally authentic menus, for example, or foods from these particular regions, maybe for a good transfer task, you give them materials, websites, handouts, whatever, of different regions they haven't seen. Right? If they understand the concept about it, it shouldn't matter what material or region you give them, they'll still be able to do something with it. That's how you know they understood. Brand new material shouldn't matter, okay? They still should be able to do something with what they learned from you, applying it differently. All right? So you have a lot of variety here, and that's what we're looking for, because they'll be faced with new things all the time. All right? So I've made a couple of samples for you based on your feedback yesterday, and I wanted you to see a complete IPA, or an integrated performance assessment, to see all 3 modes that are connected, that are about the same theme, but all in one place and with one eye. All right, you can see it all in one spot. So, planning a dinner party. All right, so this is just an example I came up with for you to look at. So interpretive, students listen to menu options, circle their choices from the food pictures. Students also write questions about the menu choices. Right? So these were two different kinds of interpretive mode tasks, and you see that there. Interpersonal, students ask their partner the questions and fill out the chart on food likes and dislikes. All right, remember that was one of our interpersonal tasks, using the questions and then now filling out a chart, getting more information. And then finally, presentational. Well, the friends are coming to dinner. Oh, wow. They read new menus and they plan a main dish appropriate for different people based on likes and dislikes and special dietary needs. So, how would that main dish look? All right, if it's for a vegan guest, low carb, no dairy, someone that doesn't eat rice. Okay, a little different. Again, complexity, variation, a new task, some new material. All right. So if they really understand what you have taught them, they can apply what they've learned and now use it in a different way, considering somebody else's needs.
So, could we pause and talk about this particular task at a different level?
Yes.
Yeah, how it would look at if you were in the classroom?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But let's come up with some examples of what this might look like for Hindi and Urdu.
Yeah. So,
Fabulous. Want to let's take about 5 minutes to that?
novice, intermediate, and then at the advanced level. So we want to talk about those 3 different levels too. Because again, this is one, but did you have any particular level in mind for this?
No. This would be appropriate for low-level learners as well as upper-level learners can do a lot with this task.
Think of how you would scale it up. How would you make it more difficult for the intermediate learner and for the advanced learner? And you can do this with, we'll come around and help.
Yeah, let's take a big list do that. Dietary nutrition to the line and match food like individuals in that what is the restaurant restaurant you like? If it was low carb, I guess you could have rice. Alright, so what kind of restaurant you like? But the important thing is, I know there are vegetarian menus, but the idea is that we're not being able to eat rice. So
questions. So if they're not able to write yet, they can, what can they do? Imagine they are on the phone ordering food, but they want to know the isme kya hai. So ask few questions using kya, parde, and kesa. There we go. I'm not taking notes. These are your facts. Take notes. These are your facts. Ask 3 questions using kya, and before that, I'm writing the first initial letter. Yeah. I want you to fill the next one. Ask your partner questions and fill out the chart. I want to see that. Do it. Let me see your chart. Chart. No, I want to see the sheet that they are holding and talking to a partner. I want to see the sheet. Prepare the sheet. I want to see the sheet that you're giving to students in order for them to go to their partners. The second one is I want to see the sheet. Yes. What is the sheet they're getting? Show me. This is your interpersonal. Let me see the relevant people who help me. What is the sheet that you're giving them? I'm not in a hurry just to figure out.
I have another example for you, another nice example, another code with the mode concept assignment task. Then it's time, then I thought, okay, now they need to design and go off and do that.
Okay, because I want to show them how to do shifting and doing that.
Yeah.
Worksheet for the students. See what I mean?
Still with the theme of food, all right, but a little more advanced, but there's still something that I think every level could do with this one. All right, so I learned something early this morning about Kana Kazana. All right, it is the Food Network, right? So again, this is what I mean by an entity. So it's an outside, external who's asking for this product, okay, who wants this problem solved. So they're calling you, all right, and they want you to provide content and material. So interpretive. Students are going to watch different videos on different dishes and then complete a Venn diagram comparing the dishes and ingredients they see in U.S. restaurants with dishes from the target language culture. So they might complete a Venn diagram for that interpretive mode task. For interpersonal, now they have to come to agreement, come to consensus on which dishes should be included for a new restaurant. If they're really young learners, it could be the school cafeteria, but I think that all learners really, would thrill with the idea of, oh wow, we're making a new restaurant, okay? So here are the dishes that they would recommend, okay? Again, they're going to be experts here. And then finally, the Kana Kazan is doing a series on cuisine from your culture. They're asking you to contribute content for one episode. A famous chef wants to feature your country's popular dishes for a new concept restaurant, develop the menus, and a multimedia presentation for Kana Kazana. All right, so again, it's new. It's value beyond the classroom. Your source, the culturally authentic material. All right, the task is solving the problem and creating the product. The audience is Kana Kazana. All right, their role as restaurateurs, their role as coming up with these menus as gourmets. All right, you give them a role other than that of student. They are presenting and providing this information to Kana Kazana. It's quite lovely. All right, and then finally the transfer piece built in. New value beyond the classroom. Complexity and variation. They're solving a problem and creating a product. All right. Any question about this one?
Actually, we were thinking with Rubab that to avoid English for the U.S., because South Asia has so many regional cuisines that they might think North versus South, so that you stay in the language. Because if we start talking about U.S. dishes, then things will switch to English, just to avoid the English. So regional, Punjabi and Southern or Gujarati, with the sugar, come on. Okay.
यहाँ पर भी आपको मोस्टली चाइनीज और इटालियन फूड जो है बहुत है
So they will end up using English words for that. Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
So you can do Bengali food, for example.
Regional food comparison.
कबाब बिरयानी सलाद खीर मोस्टली ये पार्टी में हमारे यहाँ होता है ये तो उसमें से कुछ लोग बिरयानी खाते हैं कुछ रोटी के साथ कबाब खाएंगे.
This is different. Like, so we're trying to do it so it's for the audience of the viewing public. The presentation is more for that, and the menu that is for that
is for that.
Yeah,
is for that TV show.
And it's the idea of novelty too, something new.
That is something new. Because imagine all during the program, they will be making menus that they like, and then coming up with their favorite foods and so forth. Again, they're thinking about someone else's needs. In this case, this particular entity needs this. All right, how do we solve the problem and create a product? All right, so it's nice. Consider this: these learners, these children, might not yet know what they want to do, and every opportunity you spend with them, you might be triggering something in their mind. Wow, that sounds interesting. Maybe I'd like to do this. You're sparking an idea in them that maybe this is a career that I would enjoy. I prepared this brief, or I prepared this fashion for these people. I took part in something that a business might be interested in. You're giving them the idea that this is a possible career they might like. All right, which is every opportunity, for an educator, because they don't know yet. It might all happen right in your room, okay, right in the Startalk program. So that's what we have to think about. I wanted to point out the can-do statements. All right, I put these for you. These are the student-friendly statements. I like to think of these as performance assessment-specific statements. All right, that you can only make after you design the assessment. You know about the Apple and Accessible General can-dos. Well, these are ones specific to your assessment, and again, you can only create them after you made the assessment. So they're very particular. I can compare and contrast dishes and ingredients in U.S. and target culture cuisine. That came from our interpretive mode task. I can choose appropriate dishes with a friend. And then I can design authentic menus and a media presentation. Can-do statements. The other thing about these can-dos is they also integrate interculturality. All right, so these are intercultural can-dos because they will connect to the cultural either perspectives, practices, or products. All right. Let me go back because I made that for the the other one. All right, I can write questions about food choices. I can talk about food likes and dislikes with a friend, and I can plan an authentic menu with someone's dietary needs in mind. All right, because for your template and for your learning plan, you'll also have some can-dos. All right, so I want you to see how you might make them. And they are specific, really specific to the interpersonal and presentational mode task. They're specific to your assessment, to your performance assessment. Okay, one more time with feeling, little concept attainment. Let's code with the mode. Let's see what we can do. Sorting places to go into likes and dislikes. Interpretive. Everybody, interpretive. Great. Nice. Show the survey results to the class. Yeah. Reading leisure guides and categorizing. Choose excursions with a friend. Create a travelogue for public access TV. Nice presentational mode task. Yes. Identifying ideal places for different travelers. Right. Develop a brochure or webpage on destinations. Nice. All right. Good. All right. So yes, you can identify the interpretive, interpersonal, presentational mode tasks when you see them. Okay. Nice. All right. Now is our moment. Now, Gabrielle, you have
We will have a break, and then we will discuss a few things that are already online. Shilpa developed an example for you, both in Hindi and Urdu, so that we will take a little bit of time of getting exposed to something that is already developed, and you're going to either make it better if you feel like that, or start and continue, either start anew or continue what you have started yesterday, a performance task. Okay?
We'll get our hands into it.
Yes. Okay, so we have a break, 10-minute break, and then we come back. Thank you. Thank you. So this is what you now,
I'm sorry, I have to borrow this from you without asking.
Did you put the Hindi in there?
Yeah.
You did it? Okay. Good. Oh, I'm so glad that you did it.
find one now.
कैसे बनाए ऐसे बनाए कि उसमें चैलेंजेस भी हो मैंने सोचा मैंने माना कि सही है तो बच्चों के सवाल भी ऐसे जाएंगे कि कुछ न कुछ नया करना है और जब प्रेजेंटेशन हो रही है तो वो उसमें एक नई चीज हो बच्चे उसमें सीधे चाहिए और बच्चे कुछ सीख भी रहे हैं और बच्चे कुछ
Okay, all right, so it's not that. Okay. So that's on a whole nother
exercises and must when you are in the test.
ये लास्ट दिन आप different groups के साथ लास्ट डे तो आपको सेकंड करना चाहिए अगर अच्छा तो लॉन्ग करना तो हम एक्चुअली वो तो आप ऑलरेडी आपको पता ही है हम एक और नया सोचते हैं ताकि हम कुछ नया बना सकें वो क्लास तो अच्छी लगेगी पर मैं
I haven't put up the Urdu ones. So I will put them on the weekend.
That's fine.
I have
You've got homes.
yeah, we have celebrations here and then homes. And they have the PowerPoints and everything just to show them for Urdu.
Okay.
And then I have foods for Hindi.
Okay. That should be fine.
Okay.
You wanted to just use food for both of them. Yeah. But that's okay.
Excuse me,
Yes.
you give me a theme of the program or we will select theme of the program.
The curriculum thing?
Yeah.
It's already in the proposal.
Okay.
So whoever is in charge of the proposal is in charge of the curriculum and is in charge of the decision.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be Sarah?
Sarah. No, I think now Talat is our lead instructor.
Okay, but Sarah must have written the proposal.
Okay.
So she and Talat then will know.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they are very interested in storytelling.
Oh, okay.
They were last year, and
Meri Kahani. Last year was Meri Kahani.
What is the age of the students?
very young.
Very
Young, yeah. So
Elementary and a few middle school.
this time I didn't discuss that.
You don't know what the theme
No,
is?
I don't know. For this reason, I am asking. That if the theme will be
Why don't you
Pakistan or our culture, it will be cameras will be brought.
Yeah, but I think for the age of the students sometimes they get tired of something where this is the thing we always talk about too is like sometimes they want to just talk about themselves if they're really young then they're more interested in learning about how can I talk about my stories, my kahani, meri kahani kaisi hai, if they're really young and princesses, what's Belle doing today or just making those kind of stories.
Yes, last time was Meri Kahani, then and novice.
Well, certainly it's easier to show
Yeah, that's the audio disturbance.
So that's coming, right?
Yeah, कुछ नहीं कर सकते. So we cannot use this.
You cannot?
We cannot use this. मतलब mixer we cannot use.
So don't, कल जैसे
करा
go back to that, yeah.
I was trying to improve, yeah. So that was not feedback, that was basically some disturbance, audio disturbance. So that's okay. क्योंकि वो क्या, unless and until we check it, क्योंकि यहाँ
I know, but ये सब जो रिकॉर्डिंग की है उसमें भी
आया है उसमें. We cannot touch it. अभी निकाल दो. See, we are working in a very haphazardous manner. We cannot have control with each and everything. And we are trying to do our best. So ठीक है, now we improve.
Yeah, that's our intention. So he's my professor of Hawaii. Sanjay and I provided between whether we want
आप check कीजिए, now check. Now this is
she doesn't
yeah, this is clean.
use this quite a bit of their time. So anyway, we ended up deciding The thing is, once he and I sort of had a bond, you know, like someone would be
वो बातें मेरा कुछ नहीं है तो आपको समझ में जितना भी आप कोई पढ़ना है अगर आप वो सब्जेक्ट लिखा है
how many followers do we have? I give him free credit on this, like Saturday morning.
यही चीज है कि अगर आपने हिंदी सीखी है और आपके सामने अगर कोई वर्ड नहीं आ जाए तो यू कैन एबल टू इसके लिए आप ये नहीं देखिए जैसे कई कैंप अपना साइंस मैथ क्या क्या चीजें हैं जब वो चीजें अपने अपने टीम में रखी है तो नेचुरली आपको उनके ड्रामा या जो भी कुछ है उससे रिलेटेड चीजें सिखानी होंगी वो आपको खाना उससे बिना ये मेरी
Oh yeah.
सबसे बड़े भाई और हम प्लान दूसरा नंबर लाई थी और क्या
वही बोला कन्वेंशन नहीं एक्चुअली मीटिंग
अच्छा आप आइए चूज कर
So that's when
हम लोग भी आइए चूज
नहीं आई नो
घर में है तो जुड़े ही जाते हैं
नहीं so मैं जुड़ा हुआ था
the very first class that we were in, he wanted us to, I don't know if we get the details, but it was no, we were assigning partners to work on some sort of project. And so he's like, all right, YouTube, and then
I know.
we're in Chinese school. You know, whoever, she and I had agreed to be partners, like not anymore.
Washington we
And this is her very first
I know.
This is the way it's going to be. And she was startled. And then afterwards, well, I think just because I think she was embarrassed by the way that he had and yet at the same time, like I said, when we first came from Maryland, we stayed at his place for 2 weeks. And yeah, and he's so kind and so compassionate. He's weird. Almost like or something. One respect that he's so kind and supportive. Well, even in the professional world, like whenever I make a comment, sit up right,
तो लागे हमारे घर आए
anyway, so when he came here to be director,
नहीं मैं न्यू जर्सी प्रिंसटन के पास अभी जी
आपके पास बहुत कंफर्टेबल लगता है डिस्कस करना कोई बैठता है नहीं मैं पेपर रख
Maybe मिलेगा assignment.
आप ऐसे इनसे स्टार्ट होगा या आपके पास क्या नहीं है बस हेल्प कर
Well, that's what I mean.
मुझे पता है वो तो है पूरी तरह से आप हेल्प करते करते आपके फ्यूचर
No, I don't think he is.
लिंग्विस्ट तो है और जो पूरा है वो रजनी से पढ़ा देंगे
दूसरा मेरा क्या रजनी के थ्रू तो है
Because he French daughter and by why they really built him
नहीं मेरा वो मैं जब आईसी में था तब मैं किया करता था तो जब हो जाता है हाल ही में करता हूँ लेकिन उसका एक्सट्रीमली नहीं
Yeah, well, they
इतनी सारी चीजें हिंदी की याद पूरे अपनी सेलेक्ट करना क्योंकि कहाँ इन्वॉल्व होना है
अब मैं निश्चित किया कविता
still doing his job.
अपलोड करने का काम मैंने कहा अपनी बहन को सौंपा
अगर उसमें हेल्प की जरूरत हो तो वो अपलोड करने में उसमें ये हो रहा है नहीं ऐड मुझे मालूम है वो बात
टाइप कर
Everyone has a handout.
ना बैठने वाले को पढ़ना पड़ता है
More handouts. Okay. Two language, one language only. Okay. And one with English. One So, okay. So what we're going to do now is we are going to enact You are in the shoes of the students, sir. And Shilpa will be teaching.
मुझे भी देना बेटा
Shilpa is your teacher now. Okay? You're the students. Don't look at what you got. Face down. Face down.
Face down.
Face down.
मुझे एक ही तरह
It is coming. Okay? Ready? हाँ. तीन होने चाहिए हर एक के पास तीन होने चाहिए ठीक है आएगा 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 धीरे धीरे आ रहा है
सब्जी मंडी के बारे में बात करेंगे वीडियो देखकर इसमें सब्जी मंडी तो आज एक नई तरह की सब्जी मंडी ठीक है आप देखिए एक नई तरह की सब्जी मंडी और ध्यान से सुनिए कि जो हमें सब्जी मंडी दिखा रहे हैं वो किस बारे में क्योंकि हम लोग सिर्फ शब्दों के लफ्जों के बारे में बात करते हैं तो सब्जी मंडी है तो सब्जी मंडी में किस चीज की बात है सब्जियों के नाम पर ध्यान दीजिएगा ठीक है सब्जियों की और
दाम
आप कीमत के बारे में
और फ्रेश है कि बासी
तो पहले काम करते हैं पहले सिर्फ सब्जियों के नाम पर
ताजा है कि बासी
हिंदी का मीडिया सबको पूरा 3 मिनट
हिंदी क्या करूँ मुझे देखना नहीं मैं ऐसे
और सभी है यहाँ पर हम डल लेक पर हैं आपको भी आगे नींद है लेकिन सब्जी मंडी है डल लेक पर एक ऐसी सब्जी मंडी है फ्लोटिंग वेजिटेबल मार्केट है झील की सतह पर तैरती हुई वेजिटेबल मार्केट सब्जी मंडी है
आवाज प्लीज
सिर्फ सब्जी मंडी ही नहीं यहाँ पर झील पर तैर
आवाज नहीं सुनेगी
डॉक्टर्स की दुकानें भी हैं,
He's active now.
नर्सियों की दुकानें भी हैं।
This looks like old.
हाउस नहीं हुआ एक है, किसी का नाम है, किसी का नाम नैन्सी है, किसी का नाम व्हाइट हाउस है, और ये बताया गया है कि अंग्रेजों को अख्तियार नहीं था।
Yeah, once he was very dynamic.
हाँ, अब वो
yeah.
शुरू किया। हम जा रहे हैं वेजिटेबल मार्केट देखने के लिए कि वहाँ क्या क्या मिलता है। सुबह सुबह का वक्त है, आइए देखते हैं वेजिटेबल मार्केट डल लेक श्रीनगर उसके जाके कैसे। डल लेक में ये फ्लोटिंग वेजिटेबल मार्केट तैरती हुई सब्जी मंडी की एक और दुकान हमारे सामने है। क्या है जनाब आपके पास दिखाओ। पालक आइए जरा, पालक मूली ये कितने का, ये कितने का, ये ₹2, सिर्फ ₹2। कल्पना के लिए लॉज। ये मूली को क्या बोलते हैं कश्मीरी में? मूछ। मूछ
वही लग रहा है।
मूली ही है, माहौल अलग है। देख लो, छोटे बड़े शहरों में सुबह सुबह सब्जी मंडी जाकर देखिए, जो रंग होते हैं सब्जियों के वो आपको एकदम तरोताजा कर देते हैं। लॉज इसके कितने पैसे? अच्छा, शुक्रिया, थैंक यू। सादी कच्ची हरी गांठ गोभी। आइए मार्केट जो है डल लेक की, उसमें हमारे सामने एक और दुकान आई है। यहाँ पर लौकी दिख रही है मुझे, खीरा, गाजर, आलू, प्याज, टमाटर, धनिया, गोभी, नाखून यानी कवल ककड़ी, लोटस है, उसके अलावा साग दिख रहा है। तो दीजिए हमें टमाटर दीजिए कुछ। ये जो फ्लोटिंग वेजिटेबल मार्केट है,
अच्छा ठीक है, तो आपके पास जो जिसके 3 नंबर इसको देखिए।
3 नंबर वाले, 3 नंबर वाले को देखिए।
सबके पास है ना? देखिए इसमें सब्जियों के नाम लिखे हैं। हाँ।
उर्दू वालों को नहीं मिले हैं।
पढ़कर बताइए कौन कौन सी सब्जियों के नाम आपने सुने और देखे।
सब्जियों के नाम,
सब्जियों के नाम
मूली, साग, पालक, इंटरप्रेटिव है अपना मन में करिए। इसमें नहीं लिखा
और कोई जो वहाँ नहीं लिखा लेकिन आपको याद है?
तो बहुत सारे जो उन्होंने बोला
तो कम से कम 3 सब्जियां तो सभी उसमें देख ली होगी, है ना? उसके अलावा अगर कुछ याद है तो आपने और भी किया होगा। अभी तो सब नहीं कर रहा है, लेकिन अगर उसके अलावा और आपको याद है तो आप ये लिस्ट को लंबा ये जब आप खुद अपने स्टूडेंट्स, अभी तो मैंने उसमें सिर्फ 3-4 नाम लिखे थे, आपको एक एग्जाम्पल देखे थे, उन्होंने तो बहुत सारी सब्जियों के नाम थे, तो आप लिस्ट को लंबा भी बना सकते हैं, है ना? तो सर्कल, तो ये दिस वाज जस्ट एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ हाउ आप आइसोलेटेड वर्ड्स को सुनकर फिर अपने स्टूडेंट्स को कह सकते हैं कि कैसे मार्क करें, और अगर याद है किसी को किसी का प्रोफिशिएंसी लेवल में उनको आइडिया आती है तो आप उनको और भी लिखवा सकते हैं कि और कौन सी सब्जियों के नाम हैं जो इसमें नहीं है लेकिन हमने सुना है ना।
तो ये कैसे करना है, जैसे यहाँ लिखना है,
अगर इस लिस्ट को और बढ़ाना चाहते हैं तो इस लिस्ट में आगे लिख सकते हैं। हाँ, यहाँ पर इस पर और आगे
और इंटरमीडिएट एंड एडवांस,
और जिनको ज्यादा जिनको लिखना आता है
और ये
एग्जैक्टली वही है। तो फॉर्मेट वही है। तो ये चेकलिस्ट ये भी एक तरह का, सो बेसिकली द टास्क इज कि आप सुने और मार्क करें। तो मैंने फॉर्मेट सेम फॉर्मेट पे दोनों चीजें पर वो क्योंकि बहुत छोटा था हैंडआउट में इसलिए अगर आपके लर्नर्स को एक बार में नहीं सुनाई दिया तो दिस इज अ वेरी गुड वीडियो वेयर इज वेरी क्लियरली pronouncing each name of the measures, तो आप दोबारा भी चला सकते हैं ना। कोई बहुत ज्यादा एक्स्ट्रा नॉइज नहीं है। अलग अलग लिस्ट के सब्जी मंडी में क्या क्या सब्जियां उसके नाम, तो नाम सुनने में अगर उनको दिक्कत होती है तो आप दोबारा चला सकते हैं। अगला उसमें क्या है? हाँ, दाम है। प्राइस से पहले देखिए क्या लिखा
जीरा चावल लाओ,
है ना। तो ये सब एक ही कैटेगरी के जुड़े हुए शब्द है ना। अगर सब्जियों की बात हो रही है तो फिर सब्जियां कैसी हैं उसके बारे में कुछ एडजेक्टिव्स है ना, और उसमें से एक एडजेक्टिव था जो उन्होंने बोला है। तो आपने वहां पे 3 लिखे हैं, आपके लर्नर्स को आइडेंटिफाई करना है कि कौन सा उन्होंने बोला सब्जियों के बारे में। याद है?
तरोताजा मुझे याद बोला था।
चलिए बिल्कुल तो पिक्चर्स को डाल सकते हैं, प्राइस नंबर तो लिख सकते हैं।
If your students cannot write, then you might play this without any picture, just to listen, because what they can see there relates to what they see here, and it's image to image, and you don't know whether they actually got it. So you have to think about this. You actually want to check their comprehension, then don't show them the whole picture. Just play a little bit of sound from it, and then repeat it and show the picture, and then they can self-correct. Right? So that for especially the Urdu challenge, the script Nastalik, they might identify. Don't forget that you can put only the initial letter, the full way of writing it, initial letter. And you have several letters, and then they will circle the same exercise. They can circle only the initial letter of Sabzi that they heard. Okay? And if they don't know anything, you want to stay with the picture, then don't show the picture here. Don't show the visual, just the sound. And then show them the whole piece. Okay? So there are variations depending on the needs of your students. But I really urge you, some of you asked, we really urge you. Every time we have this question, and yesterday, of course, there was a similar question, maybe a few, about when do we introduce script? From the very beginning, in a very selective way, in a very contextualized way. Whether it's their name, their first letter, only the consonants for Hindi, or for Urdu, a second one, disjointed. Okay? But from the very beginning, the visual, along with 1 letter, along with 2 letters, with 3 letters, they're not going to be proficient at the end, but they would have had exposure. And that's already a step ahead. So don't wait. Don't wait. There is no point where you will do a crash course like you do with college students. No.
And the other thing is now we have so many apps available for doing this online. Even before your students come physically to your program the first day of the program, don't think you have to wait till then to give them information. You will know the students that are coming to your program at least 2 weeks beforehand, before the actual start of the day. You can, in the orientation, whatever it is, the information you're sending out, permission slips to the parents, all of that paperwork, send out links
apps, whatever it is, to Urdu learning or Hindi script learning things online. Many of those are for games, actually. And the kids can learn a lot of it on their own, and they bring the questions to you on the first or second day. Well, how do I fix this?
On those lines, if we can have sometime next, whenever you have a next workshop, like online component of online teaching.
Yes.
And apps, and how do we create those lessons?
Okay.
I can put up a lot of Urdu apps
We're gonna
on
put
a
on
weekly
those.
basis.
So we're gonna put what we're
So
gonna
then
do.
it will be like, you know how now we have out of 3 weeks, it's 2 weeks and 1 week online, then teachers have more, like this is great, all these activities are great, but then these are in class. We need some for online.
These are two things we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So one is how we use things in order for them to be used in class before program, and also what they do after program. So two things. We'll think about that. We'll provide some information in the week.
And going back to your writing, they already know the alphabet because of Arabic, civil Arabic. So they are used to.
They're much faster.
They're much faster.
We don't need to sit
Especially
there.
their name.
Yes.
So we can get them, off and running very quickly if they have some time at home. It's the summertime, they're off from school, they can do some of this with help. Even they sit there with the dadi and nani and practice a little bit.
Also, in terms of script, because we know that parents really want them to master the skill, literacy, you can introduce a Student Excellence Award. And they can receive a certificate. And that certificate would be, you would explain, or it would be in the name of the certificate. It's literacy skills. Because you don't do that much in class. But if there is this award that they're competing for, it will go into their resume. And they will get their parents or grandparents to additionally help them without feeling like, oh, this is my homework. So it's just an incentive. Not everyone will be interested, but those that might, you give them some incentive. Okay?
Because most of them do with the keyboard, typing.
And it's fine. And it's fine. And it's fine.
Yeah. But some really wants to write.
Yes.
I mean, that
Learn
video
how
that
to write.
Rakesh
Whatever they want to do.
Yes.
that was an excellent video. And there's so many people in the community that know how to do that. So you can bring the community by having a demonstration or having students do something, with them as well. So.
अच्छा ये जो अगला एक पहला जो हैंडआउट है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ग्रिड एंड कंसेप्चुअल मैप आप मुझे बता सकते हैं इसी वीडियो के साथ आप इसका इस्तेमाल कैसे करेंगे ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ग्रिड और कंसेप्चुअल मैप जो हम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ग्रिड और कंसेप्चुअल मैप की बात करें तो उसमें मैंने कुछ
कर सकते हैं कि वेजिटेबल्स नेम ऑफ द वेजिटेबल्स एंड कलर ऑफ द वेजिटेबल्स एंड देन लिख के रखा है
तो वहाँ पर एक साथ करते हैं
तो यहाँ पर इन्होंने एक मिसाल दी है कि श्रीनगर में जायकों की तलाश।
ये वीडियो का
अब इसको हमें इस जो नंबर 3 है इसके साथ हमें यानी हमने ये नाम देखे हैं और हमें इनके साथ
हमें सब्जियां पहले वो करना है सिलेक्ट।
अब कहा कि हमें क्या करना है तो सबसे पहले तो हमें सब्जियों के नाम मालूम होने चाहिए। तो उसके लिए हम मुख्तलिफ तरीके से बच्चों से या तस्वीर दिखा के या बच्चों के सामने असली सब्जियां भी रख सकते हैं आप। वीडियो का इस्तेमाल करके तो हम पहले सब्जियों के नाम बच्चों को बताएं और उसके बाद कहें कि देखिए आपके घर में
नहीं बताएंगे
हमने कौन कौन सी
सब्जियां
अगर वो लिख सकते हैं तो उनसे लिखवाइए नहीं तो उनको तस्वीर लगा
उसके बाद वो बताएं कि उन सब्जियों के बारे में क्या कहा गया है। बिल्कुल तरोताजा है या हरे रंग की है या वो सफेद रंग की है या मूली का रंग कौन सा था। ठीक है ये करके फिर उनकी कीमत
हाँ, और इसमें सिर्फ एक सब्जी की कीमत का जिक्र हुआ। अगर आप चाहें तो उसको थोड़ा और लेवल बढ़ा सकते पूछ सकते हैं, तो आपको क्या लगता है कि दूसरी सब्जियों की कीमत क्या रहेगी? सो दैट द प्रैक्टिस कैन नॉट गो सो।
दूसरी बार को दिखाई उसके 10 रुपए
हाँ,
मूली के 2 रुपए दिए,
तो मैंने वहाँ पे कुछ इस तरह से आप और भी बहुत सारी कैटेगरीज उसी थीम से जुड़ी हुई बना सकते हैं। सब्जी की कीमत हो सकती है, सब्जी का जायका हो सकता है।
अच्छा, उसके बाद ये जो मसाले है ना, इसमें हम इस तरह
ये आगे का वीडियो पूरा वीडियो में नहीं चला रही, आगे वो एक बोट हाउस में जाके कुछ खाते हैं और वहाँ वो सारे मसालों का नाम लेते हैं। तो उसी तरह की एक्टिविटी हम मसालों के साथ कर सकते हैं। हाँ, तो दिस इज जस्ट एन एग्जाम्पल जो हम एरिया में बता रहे हैं ऐसे इस तरह के ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ग्रिड का इस्तेमाल करते हैं। तो इंटरप्रेटिव मोड, सो वी यूज एन ऑथेंटिक टेक्स्ट एंड देन वी engage with it and draw information. Different ways of, ठीक है? अच्छा, और तीसरा आखिरी के बारे में भी बात कर लेते हैं जिसमें सवाल है। कल सवाल के बारे में भी बात होगी, और ये तो इसका इस्तेमाल आप कैसे
कौन सी सब्जी
तो आप इस तरह से क्वेश्चन वर्ड दे सकते हैं और क्या दे सकते हैं? कितने का? अगर ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ग्रिड की अगर चीजें आपको क्वेश्चन वाले उसमें डालनी हो तो क्या डाल सकते हैं? यहाँ फिलहाल मैंने अभी सवाल डाले हैं, और क्या डाल सकते हैं?
क्या सब्जियां डाली थी? क्या सब्जियां
कह रहे हैं कि एक वीडियो को देख के आप कैसे सवाल बनाए, ये जो बाद में आप इंटरपर्सन में अपने दूसरे फ्रेंड के साथ बात करते हैं, जैसे मूली कैसी थी, कैसा था, ठीक है ना, और
सब्जियां कैसी
उसने कितना खरीदा, वो 1 किलो लिया या 1 वो लिया, बिल्कुल इस तरह कितने देना,
क्या बनाएंगे? बच्चे बनाएंगे क्या क्वेश्चन बनाएंगे? क्या क्या सब्जियां दी बच्चे बनाएंगे, लेकिन हम नहीं बेसिकली यहाँ पे वो क्वेश्चन
ये बच्चे हमारे लिए तो बहुत
क्या कैसे,
or you can have zaika, you can have pese, and then you can have brand. Just these three. Or if they cannot write, you can have a rupia, you can have a few colors, and then you can have a face, and then you can say ask questions, and they can record on their phones. 3 questions you want to ask because you're ordering online.
Or you can give them answers. You can put 2 rupees, red, लाल 2 रुपए और मीठा या कड़वा और उसको तो एक ही चीज से जुड़ा हुआ, और अगर उस एक ही चीज के बारे में 3 सवाल हो गए।
पूछने का सवाल।
That's the point. That's the point.
क्वेश्चन फॉर्म करो,
आपने सवाल बनाने के
तो ये प्रोसेस को फैसिलिटेट करने के लिए, आपको खुद सवाल बनाने के लिए नहीं है।
फैसिलिटेट
क्वेश्चन तो स्टूडेंट्स
हाँ तो कह रहे हैं कि आंसर लिख सकते हैं, आंसर के जो आंसर के ऊपर लाल क्या था,
लेकिन ये नॉविस के लिए
ये लाल क्या था, लाल टमाटर भी था और लाल मूली भी।
आंसर 1 वर्ड क्या?
Intermediate, you can make it an intermediate level where it will be related to sentences, to description. So you're pushing.
जैसे कौन सी सब्जी
सब कोई सब्जी मंडी की तुलना की कंपैरिजन किसी और नॉर्मल
एक जो आपने कन्वेंशनल बाजार, ये वाला,
ये तैरता हुआ बाजार,
Venn diagram. हाँ.
और ये
Here's some guys, one word. Open-ended. Open-ended. क्या intermediate level?
क्या फर्क है?
बताइए क्या फर्क है, मतलब कि 2 sentences कम से कम होने चाहिए.
And if you want to connect the history, how this all originated. What was the
ये क्यों?
why this concept?
Don't try to.
So the point that Jennifer made in the morning, that one particular authentic material can be used for many levels, but can be used not only once, because you can have different targets, right? So they can listen only very beginning, money. Did they hear numbers? Did they hear run? Did they hear sabzi? Did they hear pani? Whatever your target is. So they're listening for. So this is the focus point. The other one that Ruba was making a point, which is everyone's challenge, let's be honest, is
the more, especially asking questions, we have a lot of information as teachers. We definitely have all the answers, we have all the questions. Our role is really to facilitate the student asking the questions. So for example, we'll play the video. If there was further questions that maybe someone had, you play the video again, you don't answer that question necessarily, because now you're giving them more information that might be at a higher register that they don't even understand. If they can get more information from that text, from that material themselves, and pull it out, that's better than if you answer that question, you come up with that question for them. So we talk about teacher-centered versus student-centered. You give them the materials, you give them the organizers, you give them the tools. They do the work. You provide some degree of guidance, mentorship, but you're not talking that much actually. Because the more content you're giving them, additional information like that, they're not seeking that out themselves. So it's a fine balance, but keep that in mind. We're not there to be basically the sage, the know-it-all, the person that, if they can come up with their own way of asking the question or their own answers to some of these questions, or talk with some of their partners or in a group, that's how you want them to come up with the final product, or at least let you know what they've done. So keep that in mind.
वैसे भी टीचर्स को बहुत बुरी आदत होती है अपने सवालों पे जवाब सवाल पूछा और फिर जवाब में खुद ही जवाब
and it's a very everybody's.
Okay, so we are making a third promise now. One promise was that we're going to put apps and online literacy-related resources. Number 2, from yesterday, I promised something that I don't remember. And number 3 is the Urdu version of what I will show you, I will put there. It's still in the works, but I have it, okay? So I'm going to show you a few things, a few resources. One is, and everything is on the wiki, and everything is on the web. So we have for Urdu, we have 2 units. They're not lesson plans, but they're units developed with the help of Rosanne Zapieri. And you can see one unit is homes. And it has PowerPoints, it has pictures, it has glossaries, it has activities, it has performance tasks. So whenever you have time, please let's not reinvent the wheel. If homes is in your theme, go off using these and then modify them and make them serve your purpose. So one is homes and the other one is celebrations. Okay? Another Urdu type of resources, and I will be putting here what is not yet in Urdu. I have only the Hindi version, but we have the transliteration here for Urdu. We have those handouts that we distributed yesterday to give you an example of an interpersonal A student, B student, the animal game. We gave you the bingo, interpersonal, with Sushma Kumar, semi-convinced that this is interpersonal. And then student-generated questions are here. We also have the actual Urdu proficiency guidelines, and Melinda G and Mamta, they work for West Windsor Hindi Urdu Camp and YouTube, and they have put together a lot of resources, and these are the Urdu resources that they have used and that they have put together for Urdu, okay? And these are audio visuals, including the Columbia ones that are put together by Francis Pritchett, and they're mostly related to literature. So those that are doing storytelling, those that are working with older kids, they will benefit from these collections. Now, we were talking about food. We have here topic-based modules, and one set of modules is related to food and health. Okay? We have different levels, and one is the same theme, but broken down in different ways. So one is pasandida khana and khane ki aadatein. When you go for a lesson like this, you're going to think, of course, about the proficiency level. You can see there. You're going to think about the objectives and the language objectives. That's something we forget often because we are native speakers and we have the intuition about the language, and we're not always able to analytically articulate the structures that are needed in order for the students to perform what we are expecting them to perform. So what we do very often is we brainstorm by recording ourselves, discussing the topic that we want to teach our students. Just myself brainstorming, अगर खाना और स्वास्थ्य के बारे में, तबीयत के बारे में, मुझे सेहत के बारे में मुझे बात करनी होगी, तो मैं कैसे बात करूंगी? ठीक है? तो then you record yourself and then you listen. Or you ask someone, a friend, let's chat about it. Record it. Listen. See the patterns. See what's frequent more than another construction. Isolate it. Make it the point. Exco plus noun of infinitive pasand hona. What level is that? Pretty novice, but let's say higher novice because we're already adding an infinitive, right? Not just मुझे ये पसंद है, लेकिन मुझे खाना पसंद है. Then you would add an object. मुझे समोसे खाना पसंद है, blah blah blah. Okay, so then of course you think about the standards. You don't have to list them. Our template doesn't require. You're going to have the template later on. And then we have some performance tasks. So survey 5 classmates. In pair, students write a report based on the survey, blah, blah, blah. So this is the handout they have. And then they go around. Of course, you make it different based on the specific. So, कैसा रेस्टोरेंट आपको पसंद है? देशी, विदेशी, चीनी, पंजाबी, गुजराती, बंगाली, दक्षिण भारतीय रेस्टोरेंट में आप क्या खाना खाते हैं? आपको कैसे खाना पसंद है और क्यों? खाना खाने के लिए आपको कहाँ जाना ज्यादा पसंद है? कब? How do you do it in Urdu? We say kab. So, कब? पार्टी जाना, कब? रेस्टोरेंट जाना, घर पर बना हुआ खाना. Okay? इसके बाद तबीयत के लिए आप कौन सा खाना सबसे अच्छा समझते हैं और क्यों? इसके बाद based on that, ये उनका presentation हो गया. हमारी क्लास में या हमारे स्कूल में what are the most popular foods? बस very simple sentences about food. Okay? So then we have party ki tiyari, a little bit of a higher level. We're still at the food level. Now the objectives, of course, the action verbs that you're articulating the objectives with, now they're a little bit more complex, not just simple, identify, list. Then you have language, standards, and performance tasks. And all this I will show you in Urdu, I will put in Urdu as well. Okay? And here you might want to differentiate if you have foreign language learners and heritage language learners. We want to have the foreign language learners listen more, speak more, and the heritage language learners read more, write more. Okay? And then vegetable biryani, which is exactly what Jennifer suggested to us as one of the products. You're participating in this cook show, and you are giving them your own version of a dish that you're making. Then, of course, we have even higher. Now we are in the realm of health and natural remedies, and then you can take it even higher to debates conventional versus traditional medicine. Okay. And then what I wanted to show you also is with the food. I have broken further down the modules that Rakesh Ranjan here at Columbia developed with the Startalk grant.
मेरा नाम अंकित बोरा है। मैं उदयपुर से हूँ। मेरी स्कूलिंग कॉलेज उदयपुर से है। उसके बाद मैं MBA करने के लिए मुंबई था। हम लोग जब MBA कर रहे थे तो एक बिजनेस आइडिया सबमिशन था, बिजनेस आइडिया का कॉम्पिटिशन था।
So remember how Jennifer Eddy was suggesting that they make up the menu for a new restaurant? That's the guy. They're making it for him. He's an MBA. So this guy contacted you.
क्या आइडिया है? तो पास में चाय की दुकान थी, तो हम लोग चाय पर दूध बैठ गए और आइडिया डिस्कस करते अलग अलग। तो तभी एक आइडिया इरप्ट हुआ कि साला क्यों ना यही इसकी चाय की दुकान को ऑर्गेनाइज कर लें और इसी को स्टार्ट करते हैं। मेरी चाय की दुकान का नाम टपरी है। टपरी का मतलब होता है बेसिकली
Or they're in competition with these guys. You know, they're applying for a grant, right? Restaurant wars. There we go. So we have these guys, and we have 4 groups, and you're competing amongst each other. But this is the serious threat right there. They're going to get our money. So this is the sample. This is the sample. That they're supposed to produce something similar. You have the topic.
जब फार्मर खेती करते रहता है, वो जब वो विश्राम करता है और जब वो अपने आप भोजन देता है, तो एक वो कच्ची छत के नीचे बैठ के विश्राम और भोजन देता है, तो वो कच्ची छत को टपरी बोला जाता है। और आज 2 आउटलेट हैं लोगों के। चाय के अंदर काफी तरह की चीजें हैं, जैसे कि 40 तरह की चाय है, स्नैक्स है, बड़ा पाव हो गया, सैंडविच हो गया, मस्काबन हो गया। चाय जैसे कि अलग अलग जगह की है, पुष्कर की है, खड़ी नागवारा है, आइस टीज है, हिबिस्कस है, और इसके साथ हम लोग फिर चाय की पत्तियां और एक्सेसरीज भी ऑफर करते हैं। दूसरे शहरों में भी हम चाय की जो सौगात है, जो हम चाय के फ्लेवर्स लोगों को यहाँ पर जयपुर शहर में प्रोवाइड करते हैं, वो दूसरे शहरों में भी हम उसको मिलते हैं।
Okay, so you get the idea. Now let's see. We have a very special recipe. Dadi, Nani ki recipe hai.
There's so many of these videos on YouTube. Yeah. And they're authentic, and people telling you how to make these
मैं अब आपको चपाती बनाना है। ये गेहूं का आटा है। हम गेहूं को साफ करते हैं, फिर उसको पिसवाते हैं मिक्सी में या किसी मशीन में, फिर उसके बाद इसे आटा बन जाता है। फिर इसमें हम थोड़ा सा नमक डालते हैं, हल्का सा चुटकी भर, और फिर इसको हम पानी से गूंथते हैं। ऐसा इस तरह का आटा बनता है। अब इसकी मैं आपको चपाती बनाना। थोड़ी सी गोल सी लोई ली, ऐसे राउंड राउंड किया, फिर उसके बाद इसको हम आटे से लगाएंगे, लगा के फिर इसको हम।
So you can see she's aware that this is for learners. Not because she's modifying her language, she doesn't know how, but because she's adding explanation that you don't get in the YouTube videos. Right? How do you make atta? Everyone knows. But in Hindi, no one knows. Right? And that's the additional explanation that she's giving. And that's why these videos are very useful, because they know that they need to be a little bit more explicit about everything they're saying. They're not assuming that the audience knows. Right? So these are the food-related videos, and I have broken down also, those of you that are interested in, I think, travel and leisure, I also modules. So these are again, so we have Ahmed Ford here, and I wanted to show you this one.
मेरा नाम चित्र पांडे है और मैं क्या कहूँ कि बहुत सारे काम करती हूँ, और वो जितने भी काम हैं वो सारे काम संस्कृति और कला से जुड़े हुए हैं, और पर्यटन मेरा व्यवसाय रहा है और मैं उससे बहुत जुड़ी हुई हूँ, और खासतौर से सांस्कृतिक पर्यटन।
Meaning cultural tourism. We are talking about ecotourism, but this is cultural tourism.
मैंने रेगिस्तान में बहुत काम किया है और उस समय काम किया है जबकि हम कलाकारों।
So when Jennifer was talking about modifying the tasks, and let's say we add one more group of potential tourists who not only want the small village, but they want to know about the arts and the crafts that are regionally specific, then you have to have this kind of information for those students. But this is a higher level, so in a mixed abilities classroom, when you're with small kids, you will have an itinerary that's maybe easier to form. So those students who are at the lower range, you will give them this. But those that are at the higher range, you're going to give them something that requires more language, that requires a higher register. And another way to differentiate, which is not we're not doing here because we're not ready for that yet in terms of equipment, but our students have their phones, smartphones, their laptops with them, and each station can be listening to a different audio visual. Right? So they can have different authentic materials. The tasks can be very similar, but they can be listening to two different ones so that they feed into their interests and the purpose of their task.
तो हमें एक ऐसा लगेगा पूरे एक इतिहास की चर्चा कर रही हूँ।
So I'm going to move ahead. So this is a disappearing art in India, and a lot of these in Pakistan as well. Traditions that are not being sustained. So
चीजें आपको अंग्रेजी में इसलिए करनी पड़ती हैं कि आप चाहते हैं कि आपकी परंपरा और उसकी चर्चा आप लोगों तक पहुंचाएं।
Atlanta program had a very interesting curriculum last year. Who's here from Atlanta? Oh, no one? They traveled to different areas in India, but they were interested in the regional crafts and arts. And they identified the most typical ones for each area. And actually the students were very interested in finding ways through NGOs to sustain them. And all they did was coming up with ways to attract tourists, to attract funds from the ministry. So they had very interesting ideas related to, for example, it is still tourism, but the cultural tourism. And this particular video is very useful for that.
We did the truck art in Pakistan.
Truck art in Pakistan, yeah.
And they were finding a truck in which and how they can do it. And then my niece, she designed a jacket with that truck art, like just the kind of that. So it's wonderful.
Okay, any questions? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have a break. We would like you to think very seriously in the following terms. You will help. Those of you who are completely new, you never taught in a Startalk program, you have two choices. One, join an experienced team, which is what we did with Hindi. Or, we will recommend, based on your theme, we will recommend an existing lesson plan and you will only focus on the performance tasks. So everything is ready. The sequence and the logic of the topics is ready, and you only pick up the performance task. Okay? So these are your two choices if you're a novice teacher. If you feel relatively comfortable with starting anew, then go ahead and do it. Those of you that are repeating your programs, perfecting your performance tasks is really important. Even if you repeat the same authentic materials, they would make the difference. So again, you can do something old and modify it, or you can start with something new. Those of you that are the most experienced, and I'm thinking of directors and those that have been trained with actual OPI and have had more extensive training, definitely we encourage you to develop something new to add to your collection. Because we would be more useful because we're here with the new, rather than you grabbing something and modifying something. Okay? So think about that, take a break, and we want to see you split after the break. We have many rooms. Rakeshji, can you announce the many rooms?
Yeah, how many rooms you want? 5, 6?
5, 6. So there are rooms on the first floor?
Yeah,
right,
they can go to any room. There are no classes.
Okay, so first floor has rooms. If your group has to listen to something, has to argue about something, you're welcome to spread. Then we have 208.
See, on the first floor, room number 101, 102, 103, 104, they are all around, and they have this kind of podium where you can use the multimedia system. Okay? Then we have one room on 4th floor, 403. They also have this kind of podium. Room number 208, we have food in 207 and 208. They don't have multimedia,
so
but
bring
we
your
can
computers
use that.
there.
Yeah, and there are many other rooms. So first, there are no classes today. So all the rooms, there are 7 rooms on the first floor. They all are available. There are 3 rooms on the second floor.
Okay.
1 room on the. So.
And when the food comes, you will know. So then we will be together for lunch, and then you will continue working. And you have in the agenda, in the time schedule, you have clinics, assessment clinics. We will be here, and you will come to us during the assessment clinic. Okay? Break, language groups, lunch, language groups, and we start with the assessment clinic. So by the time you come to us during the assessment clinic hour, you need to have something to show us. These are my tasks, and the idea of the lesson plan is this. Okay? Within one lesson plan, the 3 tasks broken down, the way Jennifer. Yes. Are we clear what we're doing?
And I'll be around to the different rooms to answer any questions if you want to show me a task and say, am I on the right track? Here are the 3. Does it flow right? Does this seem right to you? Is this really an interpersonal task? I'll be around to help you with any questions you have.
And if you don't know what to do in terms of teaming up or starting new or developing old, modifying old, let us know. We'll figure it out together. Okay?
You want us to be in us language groups, especially first?
Whatever makes sense for you. Certain programs are working parallel Hindi and Urdu. Stay together. Whatever makes sense to you. Okay?
So first floor rooms, you can move your chairs, so that is, I think, more conducive
for group work.
So you can sit with them. So
Okay?
101, 102, I'll be there. So once you choose.
Okay. So we'll see you at lunch hour. Go.
Recording तो बंद कर दिए थे. You do that. तो पैकअप कर.
वो तीनों मतलब एक ही टॉपिक के ऊपर आपका इंटरमीडिएट है ना, तो
Okay, so I don't know this information for you, so you'll have to get Natalie or Jeff or someone to help you, but if you want to keep that tab open, just as a reminder to yourself, you'll have to open it. Basically, set up the hotspot. You can set a message for the block and have it going to yeah, they do. So, for example, once you set it up, whatever you have to call it, and then you select it, and then it allows you to so, I mean, it has to be within range. For example, all these iPad and my backpack, I'll have my laptop out, I'll connect to it Bluetooth, and then I can see my so what you'll do is after you set up your personal hotspot, you'll name whatever that's your iPad, and then it'll detect it from the network that you can
आपका ई का भी तो ग्रुप
कुछ तो नाम लगाना जरूरी था ना।
हमें लगा एमआईयू को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं रजनी जी को
नहीं वो क्या लगाए तो आई ऑलरेडी है जैसे मतलब वो तो नहीं वी कांट पुट इट उसमें तो कॉपीराइट वगैरह कोई लेकिन if you are working with someone in India उन्होंने वेबसाइट शुरू की है जहाँ पे रिसर्च मैगजीन अवेलेबल है तो you can 15-20 रुपए में it's called not null NONUL not null तो उसमें भी कितनी अच्छी मैगजीन है ये तो नहीं है धर्मयुक्त तो आजकल बंद ही हो गया है लेकिन जो बाकी मैगजीन्स हैं जैसे हंस है नया ज्ञानोदय है वर्तमान साहित्य है ये अच्छी जितनी भी मैगजीन्स हैं हिंदी वो सब अवेलेबल इनफैक्ट मैं उसको बुला रहा हूँ और कविता कोश तो हाँ वो तो है
इससे पहले मैं तो आपसे कंसल्ट करूँगा कि जो नई कविताएं हैं जिससे बच्चे ज़्यादा
You actually are free until, let me look at the agenda, until the gallery walk.
Until?
The gallery walk.
नहीं हम लोग
We're not going to need, just to let you know, until gallery walk is 2 o'clock. And it might start even a little bit later.
I can take out Millen G for a beer or something.
We have some issue with the car. Somehow there is a lot of smoke from the hood of the car.
Oh, really?
It's kind of from outside it looks as if the car is on fire. Looks as if the car is on fire.
What is it? I know that, but
from outside it looks as if it's on fire.
Talk to him on the
no, I know, but I'm going to take his phone number anyway. What's his phone number?
Yeah, hold on.
What?
I don't know. Seriously. Where? 631 332 3617.
While I have you have a home number also.
Yeah. 718 674 6491.
I was actually thinking.
Call him and say
And whenever you have 2 minutes, you talk. Okay, so
हाथी दादा होना खिलाफ पे जो कविता करानी थी दैट मटेरियल कैन बी यूज्ड but I didn't time myself doing something for intermediate to intermediate
See, you're thinking in terms of content, I'm thinking language. What language am I teaching my students? The entire purpose is language. And it will integrate culture and content. Yeah, it will integrate culture and content. But goals are language goals. क्या कर पाएंगे उस भाषा से वो टॉपिक के माध्यम intermediate level training
Going back to this holistic approach,
these are the functions they do. Yesterday, ज़्यादा heavy negotiation in terms of language and culture. They can start arguing, but it will not be a first so we can make up some total number pollution issue. जो अभी रिसेंटली but it's a cultural celebration. Coming up now, ये 10 बजे कट ऑफ used to be environment pollution.
आप उसको स्मार्ट से डिवाइड कीजिए जैसे और फिर स्नैक टाइम होता है दो मरतबा
one aspect. Small units like bakery or the
मैं कोशिश करूँगी कि अच्छा वापस कर जाना
हम लोग कर रहे हैं इंडिया में नॉविस नहीं हम
टाइम का मैनेज अभी फिलहाल इसके बारे में ज्यादा चल रहा है अच्छा ये कॉन्सर्ट से बोल रहा है
students are walking out of we are planning 190-minute lesson in every lesson. So I'm making a lesson plan. It's for intermediate time. I'm exercising and topic is specific, so we can मतलब वही मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि